have a peer support group, and it's a group of people living with dementia, and so they come together, talk about issues that they are facing and things like that. And one of the people who were there was talking about traveling by train and how he kept getting fined because he was not using his Opal card when he needed to.
Sometimes we can forget to swipe the Opal card. So what happens is that the ticket collector comes along and says, you know, hey, you haven't swiped on, here's a $400 fine.
These guys still want to be as independent as they can. They are willing to use public transport, some of them are using. So we have seen that, and we have thought that there is a room to do something to give them the more support so that they can be more confident using the public transports.
We were looking at partners and we work very closely with the Western Sydney Local Health District, so we got the dementia advisor from there. And we needed people basically who actually living it. So we needed people living with dementia, we needed carers who understood about the issue and what they're going through.
And the idea was to provide some fairly basic education about what is dementia, a little bit about how to communicate with people with dementia, particularly if they're a bit agitated or upset or anxious.
You know, or even when you, help somebody onto the train, just be aware that, they're going to need help at the other end.
When I got to the destination, I got off the train, and there was a person looking for somebody, and I said, "Are you looking for someone who's got dementia?" And they said, "Yes." I said, "Well, it's me." And they said, "Oh, I thought you were an older person." And I said, "No, it's me."
Oh, then once we did get a response from Sydney Trains, it was amazing. I mean, they literally jumped on board, and we already had a few training sessions in Blacktown and in Penrith, and there's one waiting to happen in Redfern.
I think they were a little bit surprised at how young they were and how they wouldn't recognise them necessarily as somebody with dementia. But that also sort of broke the ice, so then they were quite curious and asking lots of questions, so that was good.
Oh, I think the best thing is the working group. I think that has been amazing to see their journey, to see the confidence in them when they come to the meetings and they are contributing to things, to see when they see the final product. So that presentation, the training presentation we worked on, I mean, that was an amazing one. And all their input, and for them to finally see that presentation, I was quite happy.
Certainly the data that we're getting back says that the staff are sort of appreciating the training. I would also very encouraged by, in a couple of months' time, we're going to be training the staff that go around and sort of checking our tickets.
Because I look like a normal person, and we are normal, and that's the thing, People don't know who's got disability, and even in a wheelchair, going in a wheelchair, parking, people judge you, and but sometimes we can get angry, sometimes we get cranky, but it's not because we're angry people, it's because we're confused.
Trying to negotiate around Sydney on buses is a nightmare, particularly for somebody with dementia.
Yeah, it's all mostly all electronic now, and there's sometimes hardly anybody on the stations at all.
Sometimes they go to if the English is a second language, you go to their mother language. Sometimes, they get confused and, they can't express themselves, so they can't find the words. So it should be signs and things, but at least they can go and talk to someone, yes.
We find the stigma is really powerful for those people living with dementia, and they feel quite isolated, not to go out and about or try because of the different conditions and the way dementia affects people.
They just don't realise that isolation is the killer of dementia. And being and that's what it feels like, even being on a train station full of people, isolate, because you just don't know who to trust.
So dementia-friendly would be an inclusive community where people living with dementia can just go about their normal lives without having to be feeling self-conscious, or that people are looking at them, or that they're not going to cope.
A community where a person living with dementia can get around easy.
So we can hope that there will be staffs in each stations, that they will be more knowledgeable, they have more information about dementia, they will feel more empowered if they encounter people with dementia and how to support them.
Maybe some signs in the stations, you know, the way the people can relate and go and ask for if you think they are agitated or lost or nervous. Yeah, I think it will be helpful a lot, you know, you help a lot of people, yes, to see visual things, you know, yeah.
Yeah, even perhaps if there was some little spot at the station that would say Alzheimer's friendly, so if we were struggling we could go there and know that somebody would help us.
Most of the transport just, when you get on the bus, is if you can explain to the driver you've got dementia, they'll help you out.
I think if we can get it out there into the general public more so, it will be much easier. We can go out quite happy that, you know, if we have a bit of trouble with memories and get very confused, we can ask whoever and they will happily point us in the right direction.